Not long ago, he was the hottest young talent on the scene, a future star hailed by coaches, fans, and pundits alike. Yet today, it seems like all anyone can talk about is his struggles at Chelsea. Well, I'm here to remind you why Mykhailo Mudryk deserves more respect.
Mudryk or Mbappe in a race?
100% Mudryk.
How good could Mudryk be?
Honestly, sky is the limit.
Really?
The quality he has, incredible. Incredible.
Mudryk wasn't just any young talent. He was electric, the kind of player who could glide past defenders with blistering pace and fearless dribbling. He didn't just beat defenders, he left them chasing shadows. Whether it was one-on-ones or taking on entire backlines, Mudryk had a unique ability to turn defenders inside out. And it wasn't just in the Ukrainian league. Mudryk showed his brilliance on the European stage, the Champions League. Who can forget his performance against RB Leipzig? A goal, 2 assists, and utter dominance against some of Europe's toughest defenders. He didn't just belong on that stage, he thrived on it. And suddenly, Europe's top clubs from Arsenal to Real Madrid wanted his signature. Mudryk was more than just pace and flair. His coaches, especially Roberto De Zerbi, saw a player with the potential to win a Ballon d'Or. That's why Arsenal spent months chasing him, seeing him as a key piece in their project. But then, the war in Ukraine happened. For a young player, watching your homeland fall into chaos while trying to focus on football, that's no small thing. It's easy to forget that Mudryk wasn't just fighting battles on the pitch. He was dealing with real trauma, real fears about his family and his country. When he spoke about calling his parents every day for updates, you could feel the weight he was carrying. And still, despite everything, he kept playing at an elite level. Then came January 2023, the month of the transfer saga that left everyone in shock. Arsenal fans were convinced Mykhailo Mudryk was theirs. And honestly, can you blame them? Mudryk wasn't just linked to Arsenal. He was practically campaigning to join them. He posted cryptic Instagram stories of him watching Arsenal games, liking every post that even hinted at a potential move. He even went as far as sharing photos of Mikel Arteta, yes, the Arsenal manager, in his stories. This guy was sending not-so-subtle signals that he was ready to wear that red and white jersey. But then, just as Arsenal fans were getting their Mudryk 10 shirts ready, bam! Out of nowhere, Chelsea storms in. And not just with a casual interest, Chelsea sealed the deal in a matter of hours, splashing out a whopping 100 million euros, making Mudryk the most expensive Ukrainian player in history, more than any Ukrainian legend. Arsenal had spent months negotiating, and Chelsea snatched him away in what felt like a blink of an eye. One minute he's Arsenal-bound, the next he's holding up a blue Chelsea shirt at Stamford Bridge. Just like that, the football world was buzzing. And let's be real, this move didn't just shock Arsenal fans. Everyone was talking about it. Some were calling it a masterstroke by Chelsea. Others were questioning why they would splash that much cash on a relatively unproven player. But one thing was certain, the pressure was now on Mudryk.
Why are Chelsea trying to scupper this Arsenal deal? Mykhailo Mudryk is a player who has made it so desperately clear that he wants to sign for Arsenal. He is so dedicated to joining Mikel Arteta's team, and yet Chelsea have decided to try and scupper the deal that we have flown to Poland up and are paying over the odds.
100 million euros means expectations. Fans wanted him to be the next Eden Hazard, to revive Chelsea's struggling attack. And that's where the problem started. And here's Mudryk, just 21 years old, thrown into a team that needed him to be the savior. He made his debut against Liverpool, and for a brief moment, it looked like he was ready. Within minutes, he blew past James Milner, forcing him into a yellow card tackle. His speed was unreal. He hit over 36 kilometers per hour, and he nearly scored with a brilliant solo run that just missed the post. Even though it ended 0-0, Mudryk's 35 minutes had Chelsea fans dreaming. But since then, his performances have been inconsistent. People expected the next Eden Hazard. You can't blame them for that because sometimes he reminds them of prime Eden Hazard, but by very next match, his performance would drop below everyone expected, which led him to be ridiculed by many on social media. Mudryk, for all his talent, has lost the ball more than almost any winger in the Premier League. His decision-making, especially in high-pressure situations, is lacking. But can you put all the blame on him? I don't think so. Think about it. Chelsea wasn't exactly the best environment for a young player to thrive in. The club had been in absolute turmoil, constant managerial changes, an overwhelming influx of new signings, and a total lack of consistency within the squad. Just think about it. In a little over a year, Chelsea went through 4 different managers, from Tuchel to Potter, to Lampard and then Pochettino, and now to Enzo. It was a revolving door. No player could truly settle in that. And it wasn't just the managers. Chelsea spent hundreds of millions bringing in over a dozen new players, all trying to find their place at the same time. Mudryk didn't just join Chelsea, he walked into a team that was in chaos, a club rebuilding from the ground up. For a young talent like him, that instability was career damaging.
I think Mudryk can win the Ballon d'Or, no? In the future.
Really? Wow.
Now let's add the pressure of a £100 million price tag on top of that. Mudryk was just 21, fresh from Shakhtar Donetsk, where he was the star, the go-to player everyone relied on. Then suddenly, he was thrown into the Premier League, not just to play, but to fix a team that was already in shambles. A team with no structure, no clear vision. He had teammates he'd never worked with, a system that changed every other week, and on top of all that, everyone expected him to immediately deliver, like the next Eden Hazard. That was an overwhelming amount of pressure for anyone, let alone someone still adjusting to a new country, barely speaking the language, and dealing with a totally different style of football. And let's not forget, Mudryk was a player who thrived on confidence, a winger who loved to take risks, beat his man, and play with freedom. But in a team that was losing game after game, with fans and pundits criticizing his every move, that confidence quickly vanished. He had moments of brilliance, flashes of the talent we all knew he had, but without the right support and in such a volatile environment, it's no surprise he struggled to live up to those sky-high expectations. And let's not forget, Mudryk's personal life hasn't exactly been easy either. He's from a country at war, his family is still in Ukraine, and the stress that comes with knowing your loved ones are in danger is something that can't be overlooked. Mentally, he's carrying a heavy burden. And at Chelsea, it doesn't look like he's getting the kind of emotional support or mentorship he needs. It's not like he has a Zinchenko or a close mentor there to guide him, to help him settle in. You look at clubs like Arsenal, they have a nurturing environment for young talent. They turn raw players into world-class stars. But Chelsea? They're too chaotic right now for a player like Mudryk to flourish. But what does Mudryk really need? What's the key to unlocking that incredible potential that made the football world take notice? This is the question now facing Chelsea's management, including the current head coach Enzo. But Mudryk isn't just any player. He's a unique talent who needs more than just tactics or drills. He needs confidence. He needs a system that suits his explosive, direct style of play, and above all, he needs trust. The kind of trust that can rebuild his self-belief, which has undoubtedly taken a hit since his big money move. Think about it. If Mudryk can regain his confidence, if Chelsea or another club gives him the right environment to grow without constant pressure to be perfect, we could still see the player that once dazzled Europe. We're talking about a young winger with blistering pace, an eye for goal, and the ability to terrorize defenses when he's at his best. These qualities don't just disappear overnight. They're still there, waiting to be unleashed. But for that to happen, the team around him needs to be stable, supportive, and willing to play to his strengths. The current instability at Chelsea might not be the best place for that, but football is unpredictable. Sometimes all it takes is one moment, one goal, one match to reignite a player's career. So the next time you hear someone criticizing Mudryk, remember not just the numbers on the stats sheet, but what he's been through, and more importantly, what he's still capable of. He's only 22 years old. He has time on his side, and his story is far from over. This is still a player who was once labeled a future Ballon d'Or winner, a player who lit up the Champions League, a player who made top clubs fight for his signature. Mudryk's future is still his to shape, and if he can overcome these challenges, we might just witness a comeback for the ages. You know, when I think about it, Mudryk and Aubameyang are actually pretty similar in a lot of ways. If you're wondering how, check out the next video. I promise you won't want to miss this one.